From the DUTV studios on the campus of Drexel University in Philadelphia, you are watching DNews. Welcome to another edition of DNews. I'm Bahora Davronova. WKDU is the cornerstone of the Philadelphia radio scene. But when a change in funding threatened the station, its listeners came together to make their voices heard. Field reporter Farrell has more.
Drexel's student-operated radio station, WKDU, has been a pillar of the Philly music community since 1971, being the only free-format, non-commercial FM radio station in the city. This October, they held their 16th annual electronic music marathon, combining the station's two core values, music and philanthropy.
You are listening to WKDU Philadelphia 91.7 FM, Drexel University's free-format, non-commercial radio station. This is the 2019 Electronic Music Marathon, and keep the dial locked.
I had the chance to sit down with the general manager and public relations director of the station to talk about this year's event.
The late 90s is when the EMM started up, and that's when our electronic DJ community started to, gain some traction, and then they started this event that's been going on 20 years later.
Basically, it's an 84 hours straight music marathon that is also a fundraiser, and they play live electronic music. So DJs come in from the Philly area, and they play electronic music live, non-stop.
While most of the action was held at the station's headquarters in the basement of the Crease Student Center, WKDU also brought their fundraising efforts off campus. They held an after-hours event throwing a rave in an undisclosed location in North Philly and hosted a remote disco dance party at Philly Aid's Thrift.
Those are really fun because, especially the Thrifty Disco, a lot of Drexel students go, and it's just this huge thrift store, and they clear out the floor, and they play disco music, and everyone comes out and you donate, and basically the music that was playing there was playing for the EMM over there, and it's really fun. It's like my favorite thing.
Since the event's inception, the EMM has raised over $30,000 for various nonprofits in the Philadelphia area. But this year, WKDU shifted their fundraising efforts towards a new cause, themselves.
The reason we decided to fund ourselves this year comes from the fact that we're a radio station and we're not the math club at Drexel. So it's hard to fit the budget of a radio station into the format that like a student organization funding group provides. The things that they're thinking about funding are like pizza parties or field trips or, all those sorts of things. But we need to fund our licensing rights and all this thousands of dollars of equipment in our station and to keep up with the times of like radio evolving and becoming more than just something on the FM dial.
What started as a grassroots last efforts to save the radio station quickly turned into a record-breaking fundraising campaign.
We raised just over $19,000, which is 2/3 of what we've raised in the past 5 years. So that's the most like a student organization at Drexel has ever raised, and it is like completely foreign territory.
What could have been a challenge for the station turned into a rally for their dedicated listeners to make it clear that they want WKDU to stay on the air.
I know we have a city that's supporting us, and it's not just another student organization who's giving us money, but we have a city who's ready to like make sure that we have what we need and that we continue to be on the airwaves.
And what does this fundraising success mean for the future of WKDU?
The sentiment was always like, what if? And it was kind of this like, what if we got funded this amount of money? And, the possibilities if we got this amount of money could be XYZ. And like, I wish we could get that, but we're broke. That was kind of like what everybody always said. But it's really exciting to know that like that's how the year started off, and now we're at a point where we're thinking way more optimistically and way more like big picture, like, this isn't a what if, this is like, let's do this.
This is Farrell for DNews.
Eastern State Penitentiary hasn't held a prisoner since 1971, but at least for a short while each year, the historic landmark houses a very different kind of resident. Field reporter Mark Budd joins us in the studio to tell us more.
Thank you, Bahora. I spoke with theatrical manager Peter Corbett, who talked to me about one of the Eastern State Penitentiary's biggest attractions, Terror Behind the Walls. The Eastern State Penitentiary is known to many as a historic prison. However, for a brief time each year, it becomes a haunted attraction known as Terror Behind the Walls. Let's take a look inside to see what this place is all about. Since 1991, the Eastern State Penitentiary has been one of the top haunted houses in the country. I spoke with Peter Corbett, the theatrical manager for Terror Behind the Walls, who gave some background information on the event.
So Terror Behind the Walls started as a fundraiser and continues to be a fundraiser to this day. It started in 1991. It actually was a one-night-only event. They were kind of telling spooky stories in this kind of run-down penitentiary that started to raise money for it, and every year it just got bigger and bigger, and they started to kind of build on it and make this place what it is today.
The Terror Behind the Walls is always evolving.
The theatrics of it right from the beginning, right? We changed up the entry process. We made it, you're in the show. As soon as you come in, the show is all around you. It's already starting. You know, you're not going through and just getting rules and signing your waivers. It's all kind of encompassed in this storyline that we've created.
And just how scary is Terror Behind the Walls?
I don't know. I had to be on my toes for sure. But throughout the experience, it's pretty awesome. The expectations were high, but they're pretty close to it. So people popping out, jump scares, and where to step, or where to walk through, pretty much.
To find out more about the penitentiary's dark past, I spoke to historian David Brownlee.
And so Eastern State was built on the rather, I must say, terrifying model that prisoners would be kept in strict solitary confinement. So you could be sure that they got no outside influence at all, good or bad. And that principle, that I think I have to say idealistic principle, of course, turned out to be wrong. When Charles Dickens, the great novelist, visited Eastern State in the 1830s, he was shown several prisoners who had been kept in solitary confinement. I think he must have been shown sort of specially selected prisoners because they weren't keeping everybody in solitary confinement anymore. And he thought that he saw signs of insanity among the prisoners that he saw there.
To have a successful haunted house, not only do you need a scary building, but also a group of driven and professional actors.
We have a staff of over 300 actors that get into the show every night, and they get into costume, they get into makeup, they come here and they are just trying to deliver the spirit of Halloween to each and every person that comes through, and they really work hard to make sure that this is America's #1 haunted attraction, right? So definitely come out, definitely revel in the Halloween spirit with all of us, because we love doing this and we love to have people come in and experience it with us.
From outside the Eastern State Penitentiary, I'm Mark Budd, DNews.
It was back to school for Drexel students this fall, but for Drexel's club soccer team, the season was already going strong. Here's field reporter Jack Levine with more.
Drexel's club soccer team is gearing up for its fall season. Competition to make the team is fierce, and for many of the players, getting to this point has been a long road, even for one of the captains.
Personally, I've come a long way, and a lot of the guys are the same way. We all started on the B team, and you kind of have to work your way up. It's kind of a long process, and you have to earn your role, you have to earn your playing time, and the respect for kind of the leadership roles. If you kind of put the time in, you stick with it, earn the respect of your teammates, I think that the payoffs will show, and I think this year they have for a lot of us.
The team has also recently welcomed a new coaching staff, which has led to increased success for the Dragons.
Before I was coach, I was a player. I joined the team in my freshman year. We played a style of soccer that was very dependent on our outside backs overlapping over our wingers, and as a result was very tiring for them and was leaving us a little susceptible there. The team should really be the focus, and that passing has to be really unified within the entire team. And so we've started shifting our play a little bit more towards that direction, and it's been very beneficial for us.
In addition to new tactics, the team's great chemistry has been very beneficial for the team's success, thanks in part to a new sponsorship.
I had about a week to find a new sponsor to get us the new uniforms in time for the season to start. So I went around to local businesses and was seeing if they'd be interested in sponsoring our club. They'd have their logo on the front. We could go there after games. Since we partnered with the Post, it encourages a lot more post-game events where everybody's hanging out, just grabbing food, hanging out, having a good time. And the more time that you spend with them, the more team chemistry you're going to build on and off the field.
Players have more respect in the team. At the same time, players aren't losing respect if they're not playing.
We have very good chemistry in our team, and I think that's one of our strengths, to be honest, is that we can play together really well on the field, and then when the game ends, we can all go hang out off the field, and it's still kind of that brotherhood that we all have.
It was thanks to this great chemistry that the squad was able to make their league's national tournament by winning their regionals this fall.
So we're the first Drexel club soccer team to ever make nationals. The furthest that the club has ever gone was a group stage appearance at regionals. Thankfully, we were able to top our group and progress through our regionals this year. And as a result, we went through and won the rest of the tournament. We didn't concede a single goal, which as a coach is phenomenal.
Despite having achieved so much already, there's been little time for celebration as the team is intensely preparing for national.
You can imagine organizing a trip for 27 guys to travel to Texas with 3 weeks' notice for housing, flights, food, and tournament preparation has been chaos, but it's very fun.
We don't know what to expect at all. I mean, obviously we've never made it there before. There's a lot of really big schools there from all across the country. I think the level of competition will be higher, obviously. That being said, we have confidence in who we have. We've made it this far, so we don't really have much to lose.
The opportunity to play soccer at such a high level has been a great experience for these players, and they are proud to be able to represent Drexel in such a big way.
The spotted lanternfly caused quite a buzz in Philadelphia this year. Field reporter Alexandra George is here in the studio to introduce us to our next story.
Thanks, Bahora. I got the chance to talk to an expert at the Academy of Natural Sciences about what brought this spotted insect into the spotlight.
When they first emerged, they were everywhere.
They're annoying and they're all over the place.
And at my aunt's house, they surrounded her backyard. I've seen so many. I actually stepped on so many.
Like the first time I saw it, I saw one multiple just come down from the building, drop down on the ground. I was like, oh crap, what is this?
My friend, we were walking from Starbucks, and it got on her, and she started she was like, get it off of me, get it off of me. I've never seen them until there was thousands, and now they're everywhere.
The spotted lanternfly is impossible to ignore, and everyone is talking about it. But what makes this insect so unique?
We do not have a lot of red insects that are bright red in this area. My name's Bob Conrow. I'm a PhD student, soon to be a candidate here in the bees department at Drexel University. To come to Pennsylvania and have that bright insect is, it's neat and it's very distinctive. I think everybody knows them when they see them. We're torn as entomologists because they are beautiful and they're neat, and we don't get a lot of things like this, but we know how destructive they can be. People find out I'm an entomologist. I always get questions about lanternfly now.
It's common knowledge that the lanternfly has invaded the city, but that's all people seem to know for sure.
She was like, what if it bites me? So is it do you know if it's poisonous?
All I know is that you have to kill them when you see them.
They're really bad for the environment, right?
The biggest threat is to things like vineyards, so they really prefer grapes. My real worry about the city is that we can possibly distribute them further than we want to.
Accidental distribution is the reason for the spotted lanternfly epidemic in the first place.
It came over in 2014 on a few stone slabs used for construction purposes to Berks County, Pennsylvania. Now it's in America. North America is a totally different, ecosystem than China. So that insect is able then to create a very large population really quickly, and there's few predators to kill it, and there's few defenses for the plants to stop it from feeding.
Philadelphia's greatest defense has been the community's reaction.
People have been like posting on Instagram saying, oh, they're bad for you.
And you know, people making memes about it and stuff, yeah.
The media, the stomping program now in Philly, I know it's, you know, everybody's saying stomp them if you see them. So the outreach has been great. I think maybe partially because of how charismatic they are, how colorful they are. People take notice and they want to be a part of it. And I think it's bringing people together in a weird way, so, which is pretty amazing that a little insect can do that.
For DNews, I'm Alexandra George.
The rise of food culture has led many to question how their food is made or where their food comes from. But often overlooked is what happens to the food on our plates when we're done eating. Field reporter Maberi Senyanyana is here with the story.
Thank you, Bahora. I got the chance to interview Drexel students and community members to learn more about the creative ways that they're tackling the food waste problem on their campus. According to a 2017 EPA study, Americans throw away 150,000 tons of food each day. This equates to more than 38 million tons of food every year. That's the weight of 104 Empire State Buildings. It comes as no surprise that college campus dining fuels this problem. According to the Food Recovery Network, college campus dining leads to 22 million pounds of food waste annually, 60 to 70% of which comes from individuals. But do college students think food waste is a problem? I visited Drexel's campus to hear students' opinion on this issue.
Is food waste a problem at Drexel?
I don't know. Personally, I don't waste too much food, and I don't stick around to see if other people waste food. So I don't really know.
Food waste is a problem everywhere, especially at Drexel. Yeah. I also work at a restaurant on Drexel's campus, Landmark, and I just see food waste everywhere. People don't necessarily finish all their food, or people just throw away platters, and it's kind of upsetting, seeing all that food go to waste.
Oh my God, I think so, because I just saw them throw away half of a smoothie in the smoothie container. I was like, hey, they should have given that to someone.
We have catered foods for soccer, and we know that at the end of the day, they don't do anything with the food that we don't eat, so it just gets thrown out. So they tell us to just take it all.
Even though food waste is a big problem at Drexel, its students and community are not deterred and are finding unique ways to tackle this problem. One such student is Evan Ehlers, Drexel student who founded Sharing Access.
So we're a nonprofit that was started at Drexel during my third year, and we're fighting food insecurity both on campus and in the community. So just with our first chapter alone, we've been a company now for about a year and a half, and we established our first chapter at Drexel University, and so this is where we created our driver network and partnered with over 40 different grocery stores and restaurants. So in terms of our food rescue, we've delivered over 137,000 pounds of food in the past 12 months. And that's just all been through a massive amount of coordination and, again, trial and error.
In collaboration with Drexel Dining Halls, Evan and his team recently launched a meal swipe donation program that allows students to donate any unused meal swipes. To find out more about what is done with food that actually does find itself in the bins, I spoke to Katie Traveline, Associate Director of Programming and Special Projects at Dornsife Center for Neighborhood Partnerships. She spoke in depth about the newly installed composting system.
So our composting initiative started, as far as I know, when the garden started, and the garden started when we started. And we are just celebrated our 5th anniversary this past June. Composting goes hand in hand with a garden. We compost what is grown in the garden, as well as other kitchen scraps from the neighborhood and things like that. And basically, a neighbor comes, contributes their scraps from their kitchen into the bin. We contribute in the garden any of the things that have been pulled out of the garden and need to be added in that way. And basically then the bins are great because they come with a handle on it, so you can turn the bin, and that provides that kind of mixing up of what's in there, so it's not all just the new wet stuff sitting on top.
Any plans to expand and maybe have the dining halls bring some of their food waste here, or is that something that they've come to you and considered? Or?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
There's been no conversations as of yet. I think we would certainly be open to it.
Yeah.
I think with our current composting system, that would overwhelm the system. We're just figuring that out as we go. These bins are new to us.
What is clear is that food waste is a real problem, not just on college campuses, but in America as a whole. But through awareness initiatives and collaboration amongst communities and organizations, the food waste problem can be mitigated.
Philadelphia is one of the biggest cities in America not to have a large downtown shopping mall. But that is about to change, as I found out when I went to visit the new fashion district on East Market Street. With its rich history from 1977, this location is continuing to make a great impact on the city of Philadelphia with its recent opening of the Fashion District. The Fashion District was previously known as the Gallery, originally created to bring in shoppers from all around the suburbs back to Center City.
We have 8,000 square feet of retail and entertainment space. So it's the biggest in Philadelphia, the biggest retail space. So as we all know, this was previously the gallery, which was a Philly treasure, and we just wanted to revamp it. The building is under Preet and Macerich, and our CEO, Joe Cordino, had a vision to just totally brighten up the space and revamp it for the new generation. So the gallery was a huge part of Philadelphia, a big transportation hub, as it still is now. That was, huge in the 70s, but of course it became a little outdated, and they closed it down. So then we took that as the opportunity to really, not forget about the gallery because it is such a big part of Philadelphia's history, but create something as beautiful as this to take its place.
How will they be bringing the people of Philadelphia to this newly renovated mall?
As you can see outside, we've totally taken over Market Street, so you can't really miss us. Social media is a huge thing for us. We realize how important it is, and that's a big way that we get the word out.
Candytopia was one exhibit that was one of my personal favorites to experience.
Candytopia has been here since opening. It will be here as of right now through the end of January. It is a rotating exhibit, so again, it's not going to be here past January, the end of January. It has 12 different rooms of everything's made out of candy, great photo opportunities. It's been a huge success. Everyone in Philadelphia has been really excited about it. They do also have a huge marshmallow pit with thousands and thousands of faux marshmallows to take photos in.
And what's next?
Right now we're only about 65% full. By mid-2020 we'll be 100% full. But all the jobs and opportunities that are with our retailers, it's going to make such a huge difference for everyone in the city. We have 4 pillars. They are food, film, fashion, and fun. So it's a little bit of everything for the city of Philadelphia.
For DNews, I'm Bahora Davronova. Cafe culture is nothing new in Philadelphia, so when Kafar opened in Rittenhouse Square, it was time to break the mold. Field reporter Jake Samson has the story.
You may be able to picture a typical cafe in your mind. Small tables and chairs on a cobblestone patio. On top of the tables are small cups of espresso and biscotti. But when Kafar Cafe opened in Rittenhouse Square, things were a little different. I had the opportunity to speak to its general manager about a few things.
So I started at Zahav about 6 years ago as a busser, and then I was the opening cashier at Dizengoff. I returned to Zahav and served for a long time, and then I moved away for a little while to Pittsburgh and managed a restaurant there, and then I went back to Zahav, and I was also the GM at Abe Fisher for the last year. Yeah.
I was curious to see how she would describe the cuisine that they served here at Kafar.
It's definitely Israeli, but Israeli cuisine is representative of a lot of other cultures as well. So it's really a hybrid of like Arabic cuisine, North African. Israel has so many different immigrant communities, and so, there's Bulgarian influence, some Eastern European. So, that's the cuisine, but it's all of that, but in a more of like a cafe fare. So it's the pastries and then like salads and lighter sandwiches and toasts as well. So.
But what about the employees? What have all of their best experiences been?
I think just like people's reception to the restaurant. I think you put so much work into opening a restaurant, and like you just kind of have to hope that people are going to like it. And we worked really, really hard, both for the food, the service, the design, the coffee, every element. We put so much energy into, and just to have it be well received, I would say, is like the best part. And to have regulars from day one has been really incredible.
With so many other cafes in the city, how does Kafar separate itself from the rest?
Yeah, I think that we have different elements of things that other restaurants and cafes have in the city, but I don't think that any of them bring all of them together in the way that we are in terms of really high quality Middle Eastern pastries, as well as like cafe fare. The also really high quality coffee from Ox Coffee, which is like a local coffee shop and roaster here. Full beverage program focused around low ABV beverages, and then also having 3 services, so breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I think you know, there's all of those elements perhaps at other restaurants in the city, but I don't think any of them quite bring them together. And then also in this like incredibly gorgeous space.
Finally, I wanted to see what type of impact Kafar might have on the community of Philadelphia as well as the city as a whole.
Positive space for people to come to. Kafar means village in Hebrew, and I feel like I've already seen that happen, even though we've only been open for a few months. We have a lot of people who come back all the time who want to bring these pastries to their grandmother, new moms who come and hang out with their babies, with their friends during the day, and it's just like a comfortable and inviting place for them. So I think just kind of filling that niche, I think, in this neighborhood.
So there you have it, folks. Kafar is bringing something new and unique to the city of Philadelphia through its cafe. This is Jake Samson with DNews.
Lawnwood Gardens, the former DuPont estate, is famous for their annual Christmas lights display. This year, they began the excitement earlier with the expansion of their century-old Chrysanthemum Festival. Field reporter Michael Bellino has more from Chester County, Pennsylvania.
Through the fall, Lawnwood Gardens, located only 30 miles outside of Philadelphia, hosts its beautiful and everlasting Chrysanthemum Festival, located in their main conservatory.
So Lawnwood Gardens was actually founded in 1906 by Pierre S. DuPont. He founded the property by actually saving a collection of historic trees that were going to be cut down for lumber. And he had a passion for horticulture as well as engineering and philanthropy. So this was actually his summer home. So he was based in Wilmington, Delaware. So he put his passion for engineering and gardening into Lawnwood. Now fast forward to today, we see over 1.54 million visitors a year. And we encompass a performing arts sector. We have the whole educational programs to educate the next generation of horticulturalists. And we'll see visitors from all over the world.
Upon realizing the possibilities, DuPont, in his philanthropic spirit, continued to expand the gardens and improve upon his establishments. After a U.S. Department of Agriculture co-sponsored trip in 1956, Lawnwood's Chrysanthemum Festival grew by over 100 new types of the flower. The new collection of mums allowed for specialty forms to be constructed in shapes like baskets, columns, chandeliers, arches, and spirals. After almost 2 decades of trying, the garden's staff was able to finally grow a 1,000-bloom mum in 2011. Gardeners took one final trip to Japan in 2007, and since then have exponentially increased the number of blooms on their main mum centerpiece. The blooms took an extravagant turn this year with the introduction of a once-in-a-lifetime display created by the Japanese Iamoto of the Segatsu School of Ikebana.
So it's been a long process trying to get the Ikebana School of Segetsu over from Japan to come here. So we've been in talks with them, and they came out and they were inspired by the beauty of our conservatory and created these beautiful displays. So they're all handcrafted by bamboo. In total, there's over 600 bamboo poles that were used, and they're used using this special technique that the Iamoto uses, and she's able to cut the bamboo and curve them into different shapes. And she came over and she was able to give her blessing and be able to showcase these exhibits.
I'm Bahora Davronova, and thank you for watching DNews.